technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the GSMC Fantasy Sports Podcast, brought to you as always by the GSMC Sports Network. Hope you guys are enjoying this show. We are in the home stretch of the show, the first show of the week. Hope you guys are enjoying it. And like I said, we are going from some Big 12 mainstays to some new kids on the block. And this guy, he is going to create a lot of havoc. This program is going to be on the national radar 24/7, 365, no matter what, just because of the names that are there. And even though a lot of people don't want to confront the name brand, it's something that you can't necessarily run away from. It's a huge part, actually, of what this Colorado culture is about. Because without, Deion Sanders, this program wouldn't necessarily be as prevalent right now. It'd still be in the doldrums. It still would not have that reinvigoration that Deion Sanders brings to this program. And so without further ado, let's just jump right into the win projections and profile of this Colorado team. Now, when I think about Colorado as a national program, I still think about them as more of a cultural kind of program too. Because as much as Coach Prime did kind of build this energy, this reinvigoration around it, it's still kind of being questioned. Because at the end of the day, if you're rebuilding or retooling a program, whatever you want to call it, you really have to pay attention to every single aspect. You have to pay attention to recruiting, the transfer portal, what NIL deals will affect certain players, and such things of that nature. And Coach Prime, as a factor into all of this, lends itself to the question, is Colorado, really headed in the right direction? And I think they truly are. Because while their over-under in terms of win protection is 5.5, it's a lot higher than it would be if Coach Prime wasn't there. This was a program that before Coach Prime, not many fans or supporters had faith in. And as soon as Coach Prime brought his culture in, a lot more people paid attention to them. And so you have to consider the fact that from where Colorado was to now, it certainly feels as if this program is turning a page. Whether it's positive or negative, we'll have to see. But in the new look Big 12, I feel as if they could potentially be one of those teams that could play spoiler and potentially get more wins than people expect in the process. Over-under is 5.5 wins, like I said. I'm still taking the under here because, like I said, the Big 12 is still a gauntlet. And you can feel prepared, but it's a different thing to be prepared on that given Saturday. And Big 12 teams will immediately smell blood if they feel as if you don't belong. And so Colorado, certainly out of all the teams from the Pac-12 coming into the Big 12, of all the conference realignment teams, well, I certainly feel like they have the most to prove. They have the least margin for error. Because there is a sense of immediacy now. There is a sense that they have to do something. And so that pressure, combined with the fact that this schedule, while, Colorado should feel as if they can steal some wins here, it's a Big 12 schedule. A lot of teams do not want to play a Big 12 schedule, and Colorado should. As much as they've improved, as much as they've thrown money into resources and budget and things of that nature, as much as Coach Prime trusts the talent he has, it could all come crashing down because of what the Big 12 Gauntlet means. Let's talk first about their schedule to kind of before get into what these players will have to do. In their schedule, They have back-to-back weeks against Kansas State and Arizona. They're on the road at Texas Tech as well. Another one of those teams that's always scary. Another one of those teams that can sneak up on you. They get Utah at home. But like we've seen, Colorado has a fantastic home atmosphere now, but against better opposition, it doesn't really mean much. Let's talk about that back-to-back against Kansas State and Arizona. They also get Oklahoma State at home, but that doesn't happen. Back-to-back against Kansas State and Arizona. The reason why I want them to at least compete in this game is because if they don't compete, then that means that this move essentially was all for naught. Because in the Pac-12, you kind of understood your place a little bit more. You understood that Oregon and Washington last year were going to run away with it, but you kept things closer than normal. You kept things in certain ways close. You played close against Stanford. You actually beat TCU as a defending national champion of the Big 12. And now you kind of feel like this Big 12 move gives you a certain aura of confidence. But no, it's not how the Big 12 works. You do have to kind of have some substance to what your culture is. And if the Colorado Buffaloes don't have that substance, then they could be swept away. And so keeping those games close, and understanding that Kansas State and Arizona are going to want to lay waste to everyone in their path, be on, this collision course for the CFP, whether it be through an at-large or automatic bid. Colorado just can't be a traffic cone standing in their way. They can just get knocked down. They have to prove that they're willing to compete. And that's the difference between them and a lot of Big 12 teams. I think about Arizona. Yes, they're kind of a flashy team in that Noah Fafita and Tyrone McMillan are these two very flashy players, but they play within their system. And Brent Brennan coming into Arizona, we'll talk about them a little bit. I do feel as if he can build a sense of humility within Arizona. Utah is already probably the poster boy for humility in college football. They just believed in their identity, they believed in their culture in order to beat the best in the Pac-12, and they're taking that to the Big 12, and they want to send Cam Rising off with a proper farewell. But Colorado is a team with a lot of these cultural questions. A lot of these questions stemming from what Coach Prime brings. And this team ultimately has to decide whether it's positive or negative. And at the end of the day, they also don't necessarily have the talent. Yes, even though they've done their work in the transfer portal, they don't have the talent to really say that they can compete as much as they think they can. I think that Shedeur will have a fantastic season, and he should be a top pick by everyone in the NFL draft. But at the end of the day, do you believe that Deion Sanders is really going to focus as much on winning or just being a good quarterback? There's a difference. Because being a good quarterback is nice. But if you want to be competitive, you just have to have that certain moxie about you. And I haven't necessarily seen as much of it as I would like out of Deion Sanders. There certainly isn't a sense that he's ready to take a mature step in his career by declining to go to this year's NFL draft and waiting and understand that he has to develop. But this year can't just be, a year where he just plays and goes through the motions. This is a year where he has to prove that Colorado can compete. And then in terms of the receiver core, he certainly has a lot of pieces there to help him. They bring in Vanderbilt transfer Will Shepherd. They already had Hunter They have Jimmy Horn as well as a very versatile, very good route runner, very good at the point of attack in terms of his offensive production. So they certainly have the pieces. They have a revamped offensive line. But you can't take all of that for granted, Shedeur Sanders, because last year definitely felt like a year where he certainly had to earn every single yard that he gained and every single touchdown that he threw. And this year he can't necessarily, lose sight of that, because that's basically what the Big 12's mantra is. You earn everything that comes your way. And so all of these teams, now that Colorado is in their conference, don't want to be disrespected yet again. They want to play spoiler. They want to absolutely destroy Colorado. So, at the end of the day, when you have to consider everything that Colorado means, do you really feel as if they have the right mindset to go in and compete? Because I think about, Kansas State, Oklahoma, a team we're going to talk about next, Arizona, and Utah, and teams of that nature. They have all had their quote-unquote chip on their shoulder moments. Not one of those teams has ever truly, complained about cultural problems and tried to diagnose it with hype. They've just, by hook or by crook, built their program through players who wanted to belong to a team. They wanted to belong to an identity that wasn't necessarily based on hype. I'm not saying that Coach Prime is all bad for Colorado. I'm just saying that this year he has to prove it. I'm just saying that this year is going to be a lot more difficult and different than what they faced in the Pac-12, because this season can't just be about sending off Shedeur into the sunset as an NFL prospect and sending off Travis as well and just, trying to recycle. This is a year about progress. If no progress is made, then what kind of commodity are Colorado? That's what you're kind of trying to decipher in terms of how they're going to win and how they're going to look in this new look Big 12, and if they can compete. If those questions are answered, then Colorado, I believe, have a chance to have some untapped potential to them. That's just about do it for this segment. To close out today's show, we go to one of the more better, Big 12 newcomers in Arizona to close out our show. It should be a fascinating segment. You don't want to miss it.